America's Voice Now.
Find America's Voice Now on Facebook and at americasvoicenow.org. Here's Michael Evans.
All right, we're back. This is part 2 of our 3-part show today. If you're catching this on YouTube, part 1 is right before. Part 3 will be right after. I have to say that because we don't teach math in our schools anymore. It's hard for people to remember the numbers in order. Today we just teach indoctrination. Today we teach things like on our Facebook page, what is the major advantage of socialism? A, it is more efficient than capitalism. B, more people share in the benefits of society. C, it results in low production costs. And D, it is free from economic instability. And at the bottom of that it says, please select the best answer from the choices. Well, the best answer is E, none of the above. Or E, we are not socialist, we are a republic. And none of these things are true. And if you're a high schooler who wrote that in on that paper, kudos to you. And I'm going to tell you, if you're a high schooler who's listening to this program and you're not going outside the box and writing that in, shame on you. And if you really truly don't know the difference, this must be your first day here. That's the truth. There's a benefit ride today. I'm going to read these couple of quick announcements for you. There's a benefit ride today for Charlie Russell's girls. Charlie, that is today, April 6th. Charlie recently passed away, and he's left some girls at home without a dad. And they're going to have a biker rally today that is being hosted by Bikers United for Children. If you have an opportunity, you can register at the People's Park in West Plains for this bike show and a ride. They're asking for a $10 donation for the ride and the show, and give you a chance to get out there and support this family who's lost their dad. If you're a biker and you want to take a ride on a beautiful spring day, this is your chance. You can get to Kickstands Up at 10 a.m., and you'll meet at Country Mart to register. So the bike rally will begin in the Country Mart parking lot, and that will be at 10 a.m. Kickstands are up, which means you better be there before 10 a.m. in order to participate. So they'll meet back at the People's Park around noon for a bike show and for chili dogs, and the donation is $10 for the ride and the show. There'll be a first, second, and third place plaque. And if there's any way that you can come out and support these girls since they've lost their dad, your participation in that event will be appreciated. Even if you don't ride, even if you're not a biker, you can swing by there and drop $5 or $10 in that pot and make sure that these girls have a little bit of a break. They probably need it now more than ever. On April 20th, there are 2 rallies that you need to participate in. The first is going to be held down at Koshkonong Park, and it is going to be the Freedom Rally. This is sponsored by the folks. This is sponsored by the same people who put on the Ozark Self-Reliant Living University. That's Mike and Debbie Slack. And these guys work tirelessly every single day for you. And I'm going to tell you something. They do all of these programs. They do that Ozark Self-Reliant Living University. They do all of this stuff at their own cost and expense. And they're kicking off a rally down in Koshkonong Park. I'll be a speaker down there, and I would really love for you guys to come down. There's going to be a host of other folks down there, including Alias Elias from Oath Keepers, and a host of other folks, and the Oath Keepers are inviting folks from 5 states to attend this thing. So if you have an opportunity to get down to Koshkonong Park, it's going to be on the 20th of April, and that's a Saturday. I would strongly encourage and request that you put that onto your calendar and keep that day free. This is advance notice, so there's no excuse why you can't make that weekend available to yourself. Okay? And make that a weekend where you come out and support our nation and our rights and liberties as true Republican Americans. If you cannot make that one for some reason, there is a second rally that's going to be at Eagle Heights Independent Baptist Church, and that is at 1078 County Road 8570 in West Plains. That one also will run on 9 until mid-afternoon. Both are on Saturday, April 20th. I would like to see you down in Koshkonong. I'm going to be speaking there, so if there's a chance for you to be there, please do so. I promise you that you will find that you will meet a group of people. And remember something, guys. This is all about community organization at this point. We are at the edge of oblivion here. And only those communities that are self-reliant and self-sufficient are going to get through the coming changes. And I want you to be a part of that. I want you to know who your neighbors are that think like you do, that feel like you do, that are willing to put forth their skills and their talents and their gifts to make sure that we as a generic and general community are able to get through the coming storm. And make no mistake about it, there is a storm coming. I'm not sitting up here prognosticating like Noah. I'm just telling you it's on its way. And you don't need me to tell you. You already know it in the back of your head. You feel it in the back of your mind. You feel it like you walk outside your door and you say, today it's going to rain. You feel it like you walk outside and you smell that air and you say, today it's going to snow. Don't wait until the rain is hitting you in the face to say, hey, you know what? I think it might rain today. You already know it. Be prepared. The guest speaker at the Eagle Heights Independent Baptist Church organization will be retired Command Sergeant Major Dan Page. Page is a law school graduate, has double careers in the Army and the St. Louis Police Department. He'll be speaking on the Second Amendment. He'll also reveal alarming details of plans to remove your liberties and your freedoms. If you want information and directions, I'm going to give you 2 numbers you can call. Don't tell me you don't have a pen and pad paper ready. 417-293-9888 or 417-247-2702. There'll be a light lunch. All right. Mike, you had a couple of keywords you wanted to throw out there, and then I'm going to delve into this story. I'm sorry, hang on a second. Go ahead, caller. Welcome to the show.
Yes, Michael, 3 things. Yesterday you'd had a segment on concerning places you could contact the Internet and utilize the Internet. And I told you I thought you could use the community college.
Yes, sir.
Local library. Evidently, there was a law passed in 2005 called the Law Enforcement Communications...
CALEA. CALEA.
Yes.
Communications and Law Enforcement. Yeah, go ahead.
And that
barred that.
Protocols for being able to use the school library. So you can use it, but you're probably going to have to sign up to be a student to do that, and I'm not sure people would want to go to that trouble.
I'll tell you what.
Forgive me. I said I knew about it. I was vague on it, and I was. So I called the school. They set me up.
That's okay. I'm glad you did call, because what this just does is it goes to show you one more example. Let's not kid ourselves. We're paying for most of these universities and schools as taxpayers. I mean, these schools are not funding. These community colleges, including MSU and state universities and all of that, these schools are funded by the taxpayers.
Yes, they gave some crap about that. They were talking about that the school was funded through Springfield and by the state.
BS.
I said, well, we're all taxpayers.
The state is us.
Yes, exactly right.
Scum. I'm telling you, it's funded by the state, not by you. Excuse me? And what position are you in that you think you have the authority to make a statement like that you are the funder of this and not me, when you are being paid by my tax dollars and my labor and the fruits of my effort? Oh, my God. I'm telling you, folks, we are at the edge of oblivion. If you don't see it, I don't know how. Thank you for that update.
Okay.
I can tell you.
Items.
Yeah, go ahead.
The Baker Seed Company. I don't know if the people saw this in the Horse Trader. It was on their ad, but it's in the fine print, semi-fine print. Are you sponsoring a compass and land navigation course? It'll be 3 parts. I think it's $60 to attend, and starts tomorrow, Sunday.
Yep.
And then
where is that held?
It will be at the Baker Seed Company. If you've been there before, it's a little bit north of Marshfield there.
Mm-hmm.
Mansfield.
I believe also that Ozark Mountain Self-Reliance down in Mountain Home is going to be offering the same program, or one identical to it, where they're going to offer compass and navigation and land navigation off of a map. And if I'm not mistaken, a Special Forces guy is going to be running that program. So if you're not able to get out to the Baker Seed, that doesn't mean you can't participate in the program. It just means that you're going to have to use an alternative, or you can go over to Ozark Mountain Self-Reliance.
And the third item is that they are having or had an organizational meeting for pilot training at the Pomona Airport. That was under Mr. Jack Bowman, who is the honcho over there at the airport, administrator of the airport. And I'm putting this out there just because, useful skills you might want to learn or might be useful to the community as a whole.
Absolutely. And, folks, that's what this is about. Useful stuff that we all need to know about so that we can actually participate in our own future. Because I'm telling you right now, if you're leaving it up to somebody else to present it for you and provide it for you, you are sunk.
Yeah, you need to be seeking it out on your own, but you wait for it to happen, it won't.
Exactly. Thank you very much for that update and for those bullets.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Go ahead, caller. Hit it.
Yeah, Mike, I wanted to let you know, in case you don't know, that idiot that shot up that school, he shot his mama, and his mama bought the guns legally from a gun shop.
Yes.
They actually pulled their license the other day and shut that gun shop down because he sold the guns to the woman legally, and they shut his gun shop down.
I'm not surprised.
I didn't know if you knew or not, so I want to let you know.
I didn't know that, but that doesn't surprise me at all.
But I listen to you religiously and keep doing what you're doing, man.
Well, I appreciate you, brother.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
On top of that, folks, the Colorado, thanks again, the Colorado shooter, by the way, the word now is out that this guy was so laden with drugs that it's amazing he was even able to walk. I mean, this guy had more dope in him. And this was the stuff that is given out to, basically psychotics. He was on depression. He was on meds for depression, anxiety, panic attacks, and obsessive compulsive disorder. Ladies and gentlemen, it is not universal background checks that are going to solve our problem with insanity like this. It's blocking off the type of problem that we have with mental illness in our nation. And universal background checks are nothing more than a facade to put you under the thumb. We'll be back in a minute.
We believe the better the ingredients, the better the taste to bring to you the greatest tasting pastries possible. At Chantilly's Artisan Bakery, we use organic, locally sourced, and natural ingredients of the highest quality. Every item is handcrafted and baked fresh for you each and every day. Visit Chantilly's Artisan Bakery, number 2 Evans Arcade on the Courthouse Square in downtown West Plains. Or call ahead 255-2253. Be sure to like and follow Chantilly's Artisan Bakery on Facebook.
Hi, it's Hugh Hewitt on the next Hugh Hewitt Show. Joe Kernan of CNBC Squawk Box joins me to talk about how long and how far this rally can go and whether or not Apple's ever going to get back on board, though they had a wonderful day on Friday. And I'll be joined by Congressman Tom Cotton, around whom considerable swirl continues to spin because he might be running for the United States Senate.
Sundays from 6 till 7, following Money Talk with Bob Brinker, it's the Weekend Journal with Hugh Hewitt on the Ozarks Best News Talk 107.1.
All right, we're back. Go ahead, Mike. You wanted to throw out those keywords.
Yeah, you were talking about earlier about rhetoric and how the rhetoric is being driven. And a lot of this has to do with fundamental changes in our language that are designed to drive fundamental changes in people's thinking, especially if you're not a critical thinker. And so things that used to be called like criminal behavior is not called criminal behavior anymore. That has become gun violence. Okay?
Right.
People that were,
which, by the way, refers to gives you the impression that every gun in the hands of every individual is a potential violence waiting to explode somewhere.
Absolutely. Okay. People that used to be called pro-abortion are no longer pro-abortion. They're pro-choice, because who is it that wouldn't want to have a choice?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
In the line of work that I was in for decades, okay, we can't call them illegal aliens. They're undocumented migrants.
Right.
Okay? It's like, let's decriminalize this behavior.
Right.
The same thing, financial crimes.
But
so we don't have financial crimes. We have insider trading.
Right. You notice, by the way, that every one of these is designed to elicit an emotional response, number one.
Absolutely.
And number two, they turn up the heat and the rhetoric on those areas that they are demonizing or demagoguing, and they turn down the heat on those things which they don't want us to pay attention to.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's shameful. I'm going to break this story wide open for you right now. How the mainstream media has now become a full-time propaganda ministry. I came across a story about a guy out on Long Island who was arrested with a 300-gun arsenal in his home. And the headline was, "Man arrested with 300-gun arsenal in home." The subject, or the subtitle below that was, "A police sting nets a man running an illegal gun repair business out of his home, which is strewn with hundreds of weapons." So I read the entire story. Then I went out and I found other copies of this story from other organizations. And the first one that I found was on Sky News, which is European. It's British. But then there was a CBS version, and a New York Newsday version, and a New York Daily News version, and a Long Island News version, and a UPI, United Press International version. And there were dozens and dozens of stories I didn't even analyze, because I would have spent an entire night reading about this poor hapless sap that they are using to advance an anti-gun agenda. So let me read you this article, because I think it's worthy of the understanding. And for those of you who don't have internet access, for those of you who have never gone to the site before, I still want you to get this message. The mainstream media in this nation has completely and totally abdicated any semblance of objectivity, independence, and the desire to inform and educate. Instead, it descends into biased propaganda designed to meet the political agendas of a given organization's leadership. The primary intent of the First Amendment, providing for freedom of the press, was to allow the Fourth Estate to be critical of government by alerting the citizenry when government overstepped its constitutional boundaries. Instead, it has quietly become the mouthpiece of ideologists and elitists. Take, for example, the story below. This was published by Sky News on their site, and I give you a link to it. The writing is so prejudicial and misleading that a casual read would lead one to believe something quite different from the facts. This article will point out the obvious, the intentional use of sensationalism and bias to deliver a thought pattern to the public designed to set the hook deep in the reader's mind that all guns are inherently evil and that all persons who have access to them are immediately corrupted by their mere proximity. It also alludes to the idea that everyone around them is a potential victim simply because weapons are in the general area. Observe the main title below: Man arrested with 300-gun arsenal in his home. My comments: the reader is hooked by a sensational title, and the hook is set using words like arsenal and recounting the total number of guns. However, they neglect to inform you until the subtitle why this sensation fact is of zero importance. Turns out the guy runs a gun repair business. So, go to any computer repair shop and take a look at the various arsenal of computer machines strewn about on benches, shelves, and tables. Next is the subtitle. A police sting nets a man running an illegal gun repair business out of his home, which is strewn with hundreds of weapons. Comment. Police sting language is designed to make the reader think the cops caught this guy skulking about like a drug dealer seeking victims. They net a man running an illegal gun repair business from his house, strewn with hundreds of weapons. Translation: the guy didn't get a license from New York to run a business out of his home. Occupational business licensing is about selective prosecution, taxation, and giving government, from local to national, a method of controlling your livelihood. Further research turns up the fact that at one time he actually held an FFL, Federal Firearms License, as required by federal occupational business licensing law, which he allowed to expire about 10 years ago. So put aside for a moment the sensation fact that there are guns involved. Running a business without an occupational business license is a zoning violation hardly worthy of criminal prosecution. Next, they show a picture of this hapless guy in his mugshot. And here's the kicker. Below it, you know what the caption says? Jay Steiner's home is within 300 feet of a high school. Oh my. Note the damning caption that Steiner's home is near a school. Why, you may ask yourself, does this sensation fact matter? It doesn't. It serves one purpose: to elicit an emotional response from you. Next line, opening paragraph of the story. Authorities have seized ammunition and more than 300 guns from a Long Island man they say operated an illegal gunsmith business. Comment. Since they seem to want to focus on the illegal gunsmith issue, again, one may read between the lines and recognize that running a business without an OBL or an occupational business license, firstly, should not be a crime, and second, even if a crime, doesn't amount to a sensational crime. Suffolk County District Attorney Thomas Spoda said on Thursday that most of the guns recovered at the home of Jay Steiner, age 66, were not locked up. Wow. Since when is it a crime not to keep your guns locked up? In fact, the Supreme Court, which is clearly not the constitutional final arbiter of the Constitution anyway, as clearly told to us and taught to us by the framers, held specifically in U.S. versus Heller that it is unconstitutional to require weapons to be kept under lock status. That was the entire point of the U.S. versus Heller case. But they're really not interested in whether or not this is legal. They're only interested in eliciting an emotional response from you. Oh my God, he had 300 plus guns and they weren't locked up. You'll notice also that they use the word most of the guns recovered at the home were not locked up. Next line. Police also found 5 loaded handguns in an unlocked chest of drawers in Steiner's master bedroom. My goodness, the man had 5 loaded handguns in an unlocked drawer? Pray tell, why is this criminal? After further research, including links to numerous other stories on this guy, which are all below, all the guns that were loaded were in a single drawer. Ask yourself this question. Do you have a lock on your chest of drawers in your bedroom? I mean, where do you go and find a chest of drawers that comes with a lock? Can you buy those at the local furniture store? Other than the obvious attempt to prejudice the reader, why does this matter? It's just to set another emotional hook. Mr. Spoda said the weapons were found throughout the house and in an unlocked attic. The district attorney said the house is within 300 feet of a high school. Is this reporting, by the way? I mean, how is this reporting? You're shoving all of these disparate facts into a series of sentences in a way that in which you're trying to basically drop all of this information, but leaven this bread with bias and propaganda. Note the continued use of the word unlocked. Then comes the dire and evil fact that his house is within 300 feet of a school. Other than the aforementioned emotional dig, tell me why this matters. The use of the school issue is a direct indictment of the press, because we all know that the real intent is to elicit a Newtown massacre response even though there are no facts that are used to establish that he is a danger to anyone. This is simple guilt by association. This is how propaganda works, folks. This is the principle behind which they utilize selective language to elicit an emotional response from you. And it has nothing to do with logic. When we come back, I'm going to finish this story. And then we're going to discuss it and we're going to take your calls. Because I want everybody to get it.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lillian Wu. Trayvon Martin's parents have agreed to settle their wrongful death suit against the Florida gated community where their son was shot and killed by George Zimmerman.
The settlement dictates Tracy Martin and Sabrina Fulton agreed to set aside their claims, but the dollar amount is to be kept confidential, though they previously rejected an offer of $1 million.
Fox Radio's Evan Brown, the president, defending his budget proposal in his weekly address.
For years, an argument in Washington has raged between reducing our deficits at all costs and making the investments we need to grow the economy. My budget puts that argument to rest. Because we don't have to choose between these goals. We can do both.
In the GOP address, Kansas Governor Sam Brownback saying ideas on how to fix the federal government are now percolating in the states and that changing the states is the way to change Washington. Fox News, we report, you decide.
Visit our outstanding sponsors, West Plains Pawn, located on Route 160, about a mile past Walmart on the right-hand side. West Plains Pawn can be found on the web at westplainspawn.com. You can also reach them via telephone at 417-256-3000. The battery station at 303 Washington Avenue, right off the square in West Plains. They can be reached via telephone at 417-257-7799. They can also be found on the web at batterystation.com. My friends at Ozark Mountain Self-Reliance. Brian can be reached at 870-492-4030, and he's located at 3225 Route 62, 1/2 mile east of Walmart in Mountain Home. Make sure that you visit our friends over at Pizza Hut on Porter Wagoner Boulevard in West Plains. They have an outstanding lunch special buffet. You can have salad as well as pizza and other pasta, so you can have something tasty and something healthy. Bill Stone over at Stone Construction at 2930116. Bill Stone does remodeling, custom and new construction, light commercial, farm work, pretty much the gamut. If you're interested in doing some kind of a new project, make sure that you give Bill Stone at Stone Construction an opportunity to bid on that job. And my dear friend, Mary, over at Chantilly's Artisan Bakery, number 2 Evans Arcade, right off the square in West Plains. She can be reached via telephone at 255-2253. She's got the best damn bakery in 100 miles. And thanks so much to our phone line sponsor, Jason over at Wits End Classic Barbershop. You can call us on the Wits End Classic Barbershop hotline. He is on the square in West Plains. Excellent opportunity for you to get your hair cut. Get over there and visit.
The area's best selection of firearms and ammunition can only be found at West Plains Pawn and Jewelry. Top-of-the-line handguns from Kimber, Smith & Wesson, Ruger, Glock, Beretta, and many more. A wide selection of ammunition including blanks, centerfire handgun and rifle, rimfire, a variety of shotgun shells, target, and turkey. With new arrivals every week, the area's best selection of firearms and ammunition can only be found at West Plains Pawn and Jewelry, 1713 West U.S. Highway 160, or shop online at westplainspawn.com.
Weather sponsorships are now available on News Talk 107.1 The Point. Get more information, email info@diamondmediaradio.com for complete details.
From the Point Weather Center for this morning, we have partly sunny skies with a high near 72. Winds gust as high as 28 miles per hour. Tonight, slight chance of showers and thunderstorms after 1 in the morning, a low around 52. I'm Dawn James, and for more information, visit my1071thepoint.com.
There is this product on Amazon that is simply going crazy. The banana slicer, almost 2,500 consumer reviews. I've been trying to come up with an ideal way to slice a banana. Use a knife, they say. Well, my parole officer won't let me around knives. Or how about this one? What can I say about the banana slicer that hasn't already been said about the wheel or penicillin? Obviously, just a pure hoax.
Saturdays noon to 3 and weekdays at 7:35 for your Digital Minute. It's Kim Commando on the Ozarks Best News Talk 107.1.
Before I finish this story, I want to remind you that if you are planning on participating in our 2-day Tactical 1 pistol class today and tomorrow, you need to make sure that you are over at the ambulance building off of 63 on K Highway, on the corner of K Highway and 63 by, I believe it is 9 o'clock, if I'm not mistaken. If you have not yet booked yourself for that class and today you would like to participate in that, you can do that. You can call 293-3737. That's 293-3737 and get the directions and the instructions on what you need to do to participate in that class. For our radio listeners, it's $175, normally a $225 class. If you're not in that, you're missing a great opportunity. Also, next Saturday on April 13th is a breakfast at the American Legion Hall, number 384, and it's in Willow Springs, Missouri, near the pool. It's at 8 a.m. on Saturday, April 13th, 8 a.m., American Legion Hall, 384, in Willow Springs, near the pool. Okay, I want to finish this story because then I want to take your calls, and I want to hear your feedback on this because this is really critical stuff. So we're reading a story that is in reference to this hapless guy who was a FFL guy or a federal firearms licensed gunsmith. He let his license expire and he continued fixing and repairing people's guns. He'd been doing it for a decade. The police raided this guy after a sting operation. So how many tens of thousands of dollars did they spend setting this poor hapless sap up so that they could nail him down? So the last bullet we were on is police also found 5 loaded handguns and an unlocked chest of drawers in Steiner's master bedroom. And the questions that I asked are, pray tell, why is this criminal? After further research and links to numerous other stories on this guy that are all below, all of the guns were in a single drawer. Ask yourself this question. Do you have a lock on the chest of drawers in your bedroom? Where do you buy a dresser that comes with a lock? Other than the obvious attempt to prejudice the reader, ask yourself, why does this matter? It's just another way of setting an emotional hook. And you'll note that every line that is used in this story, and by the way, this one is not exclusive, this is every one of these stories that I have linked there, uses the same tactic. It uses the Delphi technique. And if you're not familiar with the Delphi technique, I'll get into that at the end of this story. But the Delphi technique basically uses mind control and power of suggestion. We're all living under this level of hypnotism. That is, it doesn't require you to stare at the moving clock or any of that kind of nonsense. This is factual, mind-altering propaganda. Mr. Spoda said the weapons were found throughout the house and in an unlocked attic. The district attorney said the house is within 300 feet of a high school. First of all, those two facts are totally unrelated. The weapons were found throughout the house and in an unlocked attic. Note the use of the word unlocked. They keep using it over and over and over again, giving you the impression that any time a firearm is left unlocked, by itself, under its own power and volition, it's going to cause death. The next line says, the district attorney said the house is within 300 feet of a high school. Those facts are so totally unrelated to the story that you got to ask yourself, why are those in the same sentence? Unless they're trying to use that to elicit an emotional response from you. Then comes the dire evil fact that the house is within 300 feet of a school. Other than the aforementioned emotional dig, why does this matter? The use of the school issue is a direct indictment of this press, because we all know that the real intent is to elicit a Newtown massacre response, even though there may be no facts to establish that he is a danger to anyone. What this is, ladies and gentlemen, is simple guilt by association. Man, gun, school, crisis, massacre,
Man.
High volume death.
Unlocked. Man, gun, unlocked.
Man locked, right, man, gun, school, unlocked. Listen to what you are being manipulated with. Next line. Steiner was charged with criminal possession of a weapon. He was freed on $25,000 bail. Now, this and other stories all use the singular when they describe the charges. They don't say he was charged with multiple weapon offenses or criminal possession of weapons. They all say, and I looked at every one of them, Steiner was charged with criminal possession of a weapon. He was freed on $25,000 bail. This and other stories all use the singular when describing the charge. Can you explain why he was hit with only one charge if he had 300 illegal guns? Well, I'm going to tell you why. And I'm going to diverge from the story here for a moment. First and foremost, the object of this is not for you to recognize that the guy is being charged with anything. This is all about emotional response. They want you to know he's charged with criminal possession. But they're counting on the fact that you're not going to question the fact that it's only one weapon. They have to be somewhat factual, but they surround the fact that it was one weapon with so much other blather that you actually never truly see the real intent of this story. See, the press is supposed to give you the facts. You remember Dragnet? Just the facts, ma'am, nothing but the facts. So they give you these facts, but the way that they give them to you is completely separate from what the true story really means. They give them to you with bias, and they give them to you in a way in which those facts which would mitigate the sensational value of this are hidden. The next line. Police say Steiner performed gun repair services without a proper license. He was arrested in January after an undercover police officer asked him to repair a revolver, and Steiner agreed to. By the way, that's poor grammar, and this guy is a trained journalist. You never end a sentence in the word to. He was arrested in January after an undercover police officer asked him to repair a revolver, and Steiner agreed to. Agreed to what? You never leave. I don't know what they call that because I'm not an English or a literature expert. That might be what's called a dangling participle or something. But anyway, look, it's not even important. My point is that this guy is so stupid he can't even write a decent story and use proper English and proper grammar. Here's my comments on that last line. You notice that it says police say Steiner performed gun repair services without a proper license. And note also that he was arrested in January, and this story came out on March 22nd. Here's my comments. So finally, at the bottom of the story, we get to the non-event part. He was performing gun repair services without a proper license. Apparently, this wily character is so elusive, it took an undercover sting operation to get to this mastermind of global chaos. How much would you like to bet that in the decades since he let his FFL expire, that he repaired at minimum dozens of guns for police and cops? All responsibly, all professionally, and all properly. Cops are often the best customers of gunsmiths, since they are hard on guns, have a rather extensive arsenal themselves, and use the services of a smith that they trust to work on their hardware. A smith won't work long if word gets around that he doesn't know what he's doing. One other point here. If all these guns were in for repair, obviously they didn't work. So what was the danger again? Apparently the guy was a pretty good gunsmith, or some 300 persons wouldn't have had him working on repairs on their firearms. Kind of curious why it took from January to March to arrest and announce the prosecution. They don't mention the fact that 2 months have expired since the day that they went in and arrested this guy. They keep harping on the fact that he was operating a gun repair service without a proper license. And yet, you'll hear me say over and over and over that the occupational business license Well, since when do you need? In fact, I'm gonna tell you something. And this comment came from Patrick Henry, and then we're gonna have to have a break because, damn it, it's a capitalist radio. This comment came from Patrick Henry initially when he recognized that there was a man tied to a pole who was being beaten. And it turns out that the guy who they were beating, he saw the guy's ribs showing through. They were beating him so bad. And you know what the British were beating him for? Being a minister without a license. And after being told what the facts were, Patrick Henry turned around and said, "Is life so dear or peace so sweet as to be purchased at the price of chains and slavery? Forbid it, Almighty God. I know not course what others may take. But as for me, give me liberty or give me death." Occupational business licensing has nothing to do with work.
And the Donut Palace is open at 5 a.m. every day.
The best donuts made fresh daily like Long John's, Eclairs, Bear Claws, and old-fashioned donuts. Try a hot and fresh bacon, egg, and cheese croissant or a kolache sandwich for breakfast and pair it up with some Starbucks coffee.
Start your morning right with the Donut Palace. And for the busy people, the drive-thru can get you your order even quicker. Located at 914 Broadway in West Plains, the Donut Palace, where the customer is still king.
At Napa Auto Parts in West Plains, from now until the end of April, they are offering an oil change special. 5 quarts of Napa fully synthetic motor oil and a Napa silver oil filter for $19.99. Save up to $10 with mail-in rebate on wiper blades or spark plugs, and Seafoam motor treatment under $7.
Hi, this is Sheila Murphy, store manager at Big Lots. We're located in the Southern Hills Shopping Center in West Plains, Missouri. Southern Hills is home to the best shopping establishment in South Central Missouri. Come visit some of your favorite department stores, and if a full day of shopping is on your list, there are also plenty of great places to eat when you get hungry. And they're all within walking distance. Southern Hills is the largest shopping center in the area and has everything you will be looking for. No need to leave West Plains. Stay local and shop local with Southern Hills Shopping Center. Proud to serve West Plains and the surrounding communities.
There's one man on this earth who really, truly gets it.
By the way, what the hell is he doing in the Middle East? Making a complete ass out of himself. What is the point of this visit? To say he visited? It's an embarrassment. He goes into these places, you know, he's a cult figure in the United States, and so he goes to these places and he figures he's gonna talk these people into admiring him and whatever comes out of his mouth. No, it only works that way here.
Mark Levin is on the radio.
Weeknights 5 to 8 on the Ozarks Best News Talk.
The next line of this story, the district attorney's office has spent months analyzing the extensive arsenal, said Mr. Spoda. Translation, the DA has been fiddling with this guy's guns for months, trying to make them fire full auto so that they can hit him with a federal charge in case the local and state charges don't hold water. By the way, I'm a victim of the same exact scenario. You can find references to other stories linked below where they state that he had drop-in auto sears and, this is the language that the reporter uses, metal parts that turn rifles into machine guns. I'm not sure the guy can actually spell gun. He's so stupid. But really, the lack of knowledge and histrionics are outrageous. For the record, federal law says that the mere possession of a drop-in auto sear is a machine gun, even if you don't have a gun that will accept it, or even if you don't have a gun at all. That's equivalent to saying that the mere possession of a paperclip and a pen makes you an embezzler. Below, you will find key phrases from some of the other stories that were each written to elicit the same exact emotional response. What's important to note in all of these stories and every other mainstream issuance that you capture is that the real nature of the ideologist is to drive an emotional response. Don't allow logic, facts, reason, or intelligence to get in the way of the perverted message. Simply allow yourself to be manipulated by propaganda. Joseph Goebbels was the father of this kind of mind control. He was a master of driving emotional response, leading to an entire nation of Germany becoming so separated from the truth that they allowed the Nazis to take control of the government and rain terror down upon both the demagogued and the citizenry alike. It's important that you, as a rational, intelligent, reasoning being, understand the power of propagandic manipulation. This is a cut from the article from, I think it was CBS. We see weapons all over the place, said Spoda. More than 85 illegal handguns and 250 rifles, shotguns, and what you will see is a machine gun. I emphasize that for a reason. Listen. This fellow had more firepower than the detectives when they went to search the house. And those weapons, his room overlooks the high school. I'm going to read you that quote again, and I want you to think for yourself and read between the lines. We see weapons all over the place, said Spoda. More than 85 illegal handguns and 250 rifles, and what you will see is a machine gun. This fellow had more firepower than the detectives when they went to search the house. And those weapons, his room overlooks that high school. My comment. Ask yourself why it matters that the window to the room overlooked the high school. Ask yourself why he says, what you will see is a machine gun. That's propaganda speak for we've already transformed one thing into something it wasn't before, and now we can use it as a weapon of prosecution. Note, weapons, unlocked, machine guns, high school, all key words that are essentially trying this case in the press long before they ever have an opportunity for this guy to even stand in front of a judge just to plead guilty or not guilty. More than 85 illegal handguns and 250 rifles, shotguns, and what you will see is a machine gun. Well, first of all, guns themselves are not illegal. They're not illegal handguns. They're not illegal rifles, shotguns. The guy was repairing other people's guns. And I'm here to tell you that under the Second Amendment, there is no such thing as an illegal gun. Spoda said they are still investigating what Steiner was doing with all the weapons. Well, they answered their own question previously by stating he was repairing them. According to the DA, authorities also found metal parts in the house that can change rifles into machine guns. Apparently, by their own admission, he was repairing the weapons. Why the nebulous question of what he was doing with them? Apparently, not a single journalist asked this question. Here's the question. If they're all in for repairs, they weren't capable of firing, were they? This loaded statement is just a suggestion to force the reader's thoughts and imagination to turn to Newtown. The second sentence, they found metal parts in the house that can change rifles into machine guns. Translation, possession of a paperclip and a pen make you an embezzler. Similar to the spoons make you fat theory. I'm going to tell you something. You can't turn a rifle into a machine gun. And I'll wager that the vast majority of the rifles that were in this guy's place being repaired were bolt-action rifles. And no one in known history of firearms and metallurgy has ever determined how to turn a bolt-action into a machine gun. It requires your physical intervention to wreck the next bullet. Neighbors said they knew Steiner was repairing guns, but didn't know his license expired almost a decade ago. Oh, so the license makes him safer? Exactly how can you be intellectually honest and not understand the absurdity of this contradiction? Again, I point out the OBL, Occupational Business License issue. Why does this matter to the story? Other than to make the reader think his neighbors are deeply concerned. They certainly weren't for all these years prior to the raid, even though they knew he was repairing guns. Translation? That was the most negative quote the reporter could get from the neighbors on the guy. Neighbors said they knew Steiner was repairing guns, but, oh my gosh, the difference is his license is expired over a decade ago. He must be unsafe now. Here's another quote. With kids all around, we have the school in the back, and it's scary, said neighbor Eileen Radziski. With kids all around, we have the school in the back, and it's scary. An emotional quote designed to elicit memories of Newtown. Why is it scary? There are over 300 million guns in the United States of America. Based on the FBI's own statistics, there are approximately 13,000 gun deaths per year when you remove suicide. So that means that the gun-to-death ratio is 0.00043. Even if you add in suicides, it only doubles to 0.00008. Not exactly a statistic that any gambler would take, and certainly not one that should scare you based upon mere proximity to a weapon and a school. Next line. Prosecutors said scarier still is the fact that Steiner's Tree Street house is in the middle of a pattern of 25 recent burglaries. Oh my goodness. Scarier even than the fact that it overlooks the school, he's in the middle of a pattern of 25 recent burglaries. So, based on this story, because he lives in a rough neighborhood, he shouldn't be allowed to own any weapons? An astute reader might wonder why Steiner's house wasn't robbed. Perhaps the burglars knew better than to target his home. Regardless, the fact that recent burglaries occurred is no reason to restrict his Second Amendment rights to self-defense, protection of life, and property. Had a person, a kid, a professional burglar, whatever, gone into that house, said Mr. Spoda, in no time flat, 85 handguns would be on the street today. Translation? An emotional statement intended to put fear into the heart of the reader. Logic and reason dictate that with a spate of robberies in the neighborhood, it would do a homeowner well to be armed. Since when do we hold the crime victim responsible for the crime? That girl was wearing a swimsuit, so she had it coming. Or that sporting goods store has guns, bows, and machetes inside. If it's robbed, in no time flat, we'll have people running around with guns, bows, and machetes, so we better shut it down. That was CBS's version of the story. So again, recount the keywords they use. Scary, weapons, unlocked, machine guns, robbers, schools, handguns. These danger words. We're going to take a break. When we come back, I'm going to wrap this up, and then we're going to just take your calls. I want to hear why you and how you recognize this happening to you every single day of your life. This is what is being shoved into your gray matter. And I promise you, it has results.
For
West Plains, Missouri, it's KBMV Birch Tree, the Ozarks' best news talk.